Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be all about the books that I read in July 2022. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, today's video is all about the books that I read in July 2022. It was definitely an interesting reading month for me, that's for sure. There are a couple of books that I read though that I'm excited to talk about. Definitely tried to go with a bunch of very summary books for July, and I think I accomplished that. I will be referencing my Archer and Olive B. Harris collab reading journal, which I absolutely love. This is where I keep track of all of the books that I read each month and my rating for them, as well as some quotes from each book. So let's get right into it. So the first book that I read was a young adult romance. I think it's considered a young adult romance, but it's called The Summer of Broken Rules. This is something that I had seen at the store and just kind of fell in love with the cover. I think the cover is really, really pretty. I love the colors, and it's not monochromatic, but it's almost like duochromatic in a way. I don't know, but the cover really intrigued me. It had summer in the title. I thought it was a strong way to start off July, and I ended up really enjoying this book. It was really cute. It had a very interesting premise, and I ended up giving it 4 stars. Definitely light, fluffy, fun summer read. So if you're interested in that, I would recommend this. Next, I ended up going with a Colleen Hoover book. I have read, I think, like 4 or 5 Colleen Hoover books at this point, and I would say that they've been a little bit of a mixed bag for me. I have ones that I didn't like at all, like Verity. There's one that I really, really loved, which is Ugly Love. I gave that 5 stars. And then I've had a couple that have been kind of in the middle for me. And I would say that this book was one of those in the middles, and that's Reminders of Him. I enjoyed the book. I appreciated what the book was about. But a lot of times I feel like Colleen Hoover's books don't necessarily need a romantic storyline or the romance storyline that they have. And I feel like, I mean, I get why it was necessary for the plot. It's kind of the main character's way of achieving the goal that she has, but I don't know. The romance aspects of her books are just not necessarily my favorite. So I ended up giving this 3.5 stars. Again, I'm not mad I read it. I enjoyed reading it. It definitely wasn't one of my favorite Colleen Hoover books. So next we have the book that I read for my Instagram challenge. My Instagram challenge involves me reading 1 book a month that was recommended by someone on Instagram. And for the month of July, I'm trying to find the page of my reading journal. My recommendation came from It's All in the Plan. And she recommended, I believe it's a she recommended that I read How to Walk Away by Katherine Center. I'd actually never heard of Katherine Center. I haven't read any Katherine Center books. This was my first one by her, and I really enjoyed it. It was a fun read. It was definitely a romance. I think it would be considered a romance. But it had like an interesting storyline. It was a lot about like discovering yourself and what's important to you and like what makes you you, which I thought was really nice. And I enjoyed and appreciated the romance. It was mildly unrealistic in the sense that it has to do with a patient and provider relationship. And as someone who works in healthcare, I can tell you that doesn't, at least in my experience, it doesn't really happen very often. And as a provider myself, like I would not want to ever kind of enter into a relationship with someone who was a patient, even if it's someone who was like a one-off patient, and this was not a one-off patient kind of a scenario. So that was like the only thing about it that was, like, I guess to me, unrealistic, but I did enjoy the relationship that the 2 main characters have, and I appreciated the book after I had read it. So I ended up giving this 4 stars. Next, we have a book that is another young adult. I definitely read a few different young adults this month, which I ended up enjoying. I haven't read a ton of young adult, and I'm like, I feel like I'm picking really good ones. Like, I'm really enjoying the young adult books that I'm reading. And this was something that I saw at the bookstore, and obviously the cover got my attention. It's so cute, but the name really got my attention as well, and that is Love and Gelato. So I am obsessed with Italy. I love Italy. It is probably my favorite country to visit. And so anytime I see a book that has Italy in the title or something related to Italy in the title, or looks like it's going to take in place in Italy because of the cover, I want to read it. And I was not disappointed. I really, really liked this book. It had a very interesting premise. There was a little bit of a mystery involved, and I enjoyed the main character, and it was nice reading about places in Italy, primarily in the Florence area, but the main characters do go to Rome at one point. Having been to Florence and kind of knowing what they're talking about, where they say they go to see this fountain or this statue or something like that. So I really liked that aspect of it, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. This isn't a series, but this author has written a couple of books that are like, I'm assuming they're similar because they're on the back cover here. They're called Love and Luck and Love and Olives. So I'm assuming Love and Luck takes place in Ireland and Love and Olives takes place in Greece. So I definitely want to read those other books from this author. I don't know when I'll get to them, but definitely made me want to read the other 2. So 4 stars for this one. The next book that I read is from an author that I have read a ton of books from, and I always enjoy her books. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I know I've definitely talked about it before, and I think I've mentioned it in at least one of my TBR videos, and that is Finding Audrey by Sophie Kinsella. So I've had this book for a really long time. I think I must have bought it right when it came out, and then I think I fell out of reading and just never got around to it. And I think the cover is so cool to me. I love this cover, and it definitely made me want to read this book. So I finally picked it up this month, and I really enjoyed it. It is, to me, it's very different for a Sophie Kinsella book. Like, a lot of her books, she's not considered romance, and you don't find her in the romance section when you go to a bookstore, but her books do often include a romance. They do often include like a woman who's kind of trying to like struggle to find herself or her place in the world or something like that. And this book is about a main character who's actually a teenager. So younger than her main characters usually are. She's also struggling with some mental health concerns and kind of trying to build herself back up. And I really loved it. I really enjoyed this book. It was different, but really good. And I ended up giving it 4.5 stars. Next, I read, I attempted to read a book that I saw at the store. I really liked the cover, and it had a really good rating online. So I purchased it, and I wanted to read it because it seemed summery, and that is The Shore. So the cover's really cool. Again, it has a really good rating online. I was very intrigued to read this, so I picked it up, and I ended up DNFing it. This is the first book that I have DNF'd this year. Honestly, I can't remember DNFing another book, but I think I may have. I think I may have DNF'd one other book, maybe Revolutionary Road or something like that. What's Revolutionary Road? Did I DNF that, or did I finish it? Maybe I did end up finishing that, because I never saw the movie because of how terrible I thought the book was, and I definitely know what happens at the end of the book. So maybe I didn't actually DNF that, but I don't want to DNF something. I want to finish it off. I'm one of those people, like, I started it, I need to finish it. But I don't know. I was having a really hard time trying to read this. And I ended up like not reading for 2 days in a row, which is very uncommon for me because I just couldn't get myself to pick this book up. I ended up getting I read 3 chapters, 50 pages. that's another thing. The chapters are longer, and I like books with shorter chapters. If the book's super, super interesting, I'm not even going to notice that the chapters are long, but when I'm kind of like pulling my teeth trying to get to it and the chapters are long, it's not a great combination. So I got to I finished page 50, finished chapter 3, and I just could not get myself to continue reading. It seems like an interesting storyline. I think that if I keep saying that I feel like I would actually really like this book, but I was struggling too hard to get to a point where I did actually really like it. So I'm hoping to get back to it maybe in a couple of months, and just to try to like pick it up again and see if I can get through it, see if it ignites something in me again. But it was just, it took me days to get through those 3 chapters, and then I didn't read for 2 days, and I was like, I want to read. Like, I want to read something, but I want to enjoy it. So I ended up DNFing this, and I'm actually really glad that I did, because in DNFing that book, it caused me to want to pick something up that I have heard a lot about, have heard that a lot of people really, really like, and something that I felt like I would like. It's a romance. It's got summer in the title. Like, I felt like I was going to really enjoy it. And it happened one summer. And I actually really did like this book a lot. It happened one summer, really good book. I haven't read anything by Tessa Bailey yet. And this is always like front and center every time I go into a bookstore. It's almost like it's asking me to purchase it and read it. And so I did get it. I did start it. I ended up reading it in like 2 or 3 days. I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the main characters. It is told from 2 different perspectives. I enjoyed that it was being told from 2 different perspectives. I liked the storyline. And so I'm really, really glad that I read this, and I gave this 5 stars. It was a really great romance for me, so I gave it 5 stars. My current book that I'm reading right now, it's actually June 29th as I'm filming this, so I still have a couple of days left in the month. I'm really hoping that I'm going to get to finish this book before the end of the month, and it's something I've been wanting to read for a little bit now because it got turned into a TV show, and that's The Summer I Turned Pretty. So this is another young adult book. It's a young adult series. It's by Jenny Han. She's the author of To All the Boys I've Loved Before. I read that series. It's a series of 3 books. I think I read them after seeing the first To All the Boys I Loved Before movie. I really liked that first movie. I thought it was really cute. So I think I ended up picking up the books. I read all 3 in the series. I really liked the series as a whole. And so when I saw this was getting made into, or when I saw it was made into a TV show and released on Amazon Prime, I was like, ooh, that looks cute. I kind of want to watch that. But I was seeing online that it was a book series, and then I saw it was by Jenny Han. I was like, oh, I definitely want to read the books first. So I actually started this last night, and I haven't even touched it yet again today, and I'm already 80 pages in. So it's definitely been a quick read for me. Again, I have 2 days left in the month, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to finish this, and hoping to maybe start the second book in the series. But so far, I'm really enjoying this. I don't have a rating for it, but I foresee myself continuing to really like it. So that is it. That is it for the books that I read in July 2022. Definitely an interesting month. I mean, I feel like I had a really big stumble with The Shore, but other than that, I did really enjoy a lot of the books that I read this month. Most of what I read this month, I rated 4 stars. The lowest rated book this month for me was Reminders of Him with 3.5. And then I did have my 1 5-star read with It Happened One Summer, and 4.5 stars with Finding Audrey. So overall, not a bad month. How many books did I read? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If I finish this one, it'll be 7, and then I DNF'd that 1 book. So I overall think it was a decent reading month, even though I had a major stumble there at one point. I'm really excited to do a TBR for July. I haven't done a TBR video. I didn't do one. I'm sorry. I'm excited to do a TBR for August. I don't think I did one for July, so I'm excited to bring that to you guys. I'm actually going to film that right now after I finish this video, so definitely give that a look. But I hope you enjoyed me talking about the books that I read in July 2022. If you have any book suggestions or recommendations, don't hesitate to put them down below. If you've read any of the books that I read this month, I'm so curious about your opinions. You should also put those down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.